The suffocating quiet of a March night in 1944 hangs heavy. The lingering shadows of war still blanket the world, and the last whispers of winter sigh through the modest house. Edgar 60s, his eyes etched with the weariness of decades spent exploring the unseen, holds a small reel-to-reel tape recorder. His hands tremble slightly as he stares at the machine, a mixture of resignation and urgency in his gaze. He knows his days are numbered, that the inexhaustible wellspring of visions that has flowed from his consciousness for over 40 years is beginning to dry up. The time has come to reveal what he'd never dared confess publicly, the deepest secrets of dreams and their role as bridges between worlds. The recorder hums to life, capturing not only his words but also the silent weight of revelations kept hidden for a lifetime. Edgar takes a deep breath, the chill night air filling his lungs, and begins his most intimate and unsettling confession. His words, recorded on magnetic tape and later transcribed into a manuscript sealed away for decades, finally emerge from his family's private archives, shedding light on a wholly new dimension of his understanding of dreams and the human soul. Throughout his public life, Edgar was known as the sleeping prophet, able to enter a trance state and diagnose illnesses in people he'd never met, prescribing treatments that defied conventional medicine. Thousands sought him out for physical healing, spiritual guidance, and glimpses of the future. But few knew that, in the quiet hours between his public trances, Edgar developed a revolutionary technique for dream interpretation far beyond anything he'd ever shared. This technique, which he privately called the hidden key to the soul, didn't just reveal dream messages. It opened direct portals to the dimensions where those who have passed reside. The discovery wasn't accidental. It stemmed from a devastating personal experience at 52 when he lost his youngest son Milton, infant, to illness. In the nights following the funeral, consumed by a grief that threatened to tear him apart, Edgar began having dreams of an unprecedented clarity and intensity. These weren't the visions he received during his psychic trances, nor even the precognitive dreams that had accompanied him since childhood. These were real encounters, intimate conversations with his deceased son, dialogues that transcended any barrier between life and death. Initially, Edgar tried to dismiss these experiences as manifestations of his grief, desperate projections of a mind refusing to accept loss. But the dreams persisted, growing increasingly detailed, impossible products of his imagination. Milton, though an infant at death, appeared in the dreams with the fully formed consciousness of a wise adult, explaining the mysteries of the afterlife with an eloquence that left Edgar speechless. It was during one of these dream encounters that Milton revealed the technique that would forever alter his father's understanding of dreams. He explained that each dream functions as a multi-dimensional window, capable of revealing not only symbolic messages from the subconscious, but also direct communications from souls inhabiting other planes of existence. The key to accessing this deeper dimension of dreams lay in a specific combination of mental preparation, controlled breathing, and focused intention, elements that, when properly combined, allowed the human consciousness to penetrate the veils separating worlds. The technique, as Milton described it, required preparation that began hours before sleep. Edgar was to spend the entire day in silent contemplation, avoiding unnecessary conversations and keeping his mind focused on a single question or specific intention. At dusk, he was to bathe in warm water with sea salt, visualizing each drop, purifying not only his physical body, but also his subtle bodies, preparing them for the interdimensional journey ahead. The most crucial moment of preparation occurred in the minutes immediately preceding sleep. Lying supine, Edgar was to regulate his breathing in a specific pattern, 7 deep breaths, holding his breath for 7 seconds, and exhaling slowly over 7 counts. During each respiratory cycle, he was to visualize a golden light descending from the top of his head, permeating his body, and settling in his heart as an eternal flame that would continue to burn even during sleep. This golden light would act as a beacon, attracting the souls from other planes who wished to communicate through dreams. But the most extraordinary element of the technique resided in what Milton called consciousness anchoring. Before falling completely asleep, Edgar was to mentally visualize a specific image, an ornate golden door adorned with ancient symbols, and program his mind to recognize this door whenever it appeared in his dreams. This door would function as a conscious portal between dimensions, allowing him to maintain lucidity, even in the deepest states of sleep, and enabling direct communication with entities from other planes. In the weeks following his discovery of the technique, Edgar experienced dreams of such intensity and clarity that he awoke exhausted. He not only regularly encountered his deceased son, but also began receiving visits from other deceased family members, spiritual masters from past eras, and even individuals he had helped during his years as a healer, returning after death to express their gratitude. These encounters weren't merely visual or auditory, they were complete multi-sensory experiences where Edgar could touch, smell, and even feel the emotions of the beings he was communicating with. One of the most impactful experiences occurred during a dream in which Edgar found himself in a vast ethereal library, where each book contained the complete story of a soul that had lived on Earth. Milton guided him through endless corridors of crystalline shelves, explaining that each human soul left an indelible mark on this cosmic archive, recording not only their earthly actions, but also their innermost thoughts, secret intentions, and spiritual growth across multiple incarnations. It was in this library that Edgar discovered something that would radically change his understanding of the purpose of dreams. Milton showed him that dreams weren't simply reflections of the individual subconscious, but also direct access points to what he called the universal cosmic consciousness, an infinite field of knowledge where all souls were eternally connected. Through this connection, it was possible not only to communicate with the dead, but also to access knowledge from lost civilizations, understand the deepest mysteries of creation, and even glimpse future events with an accuracy that transcended any form of ordinary premonition. The practical application of this discovery quickly became apparent in Edgar's life. His trance sessions, already renowned for their diagnostic accuracy, took on a whole new dimension when he began applying the principles of the dream technique to his altered states of consciousness. During his healing sessions, he began receiving information not only about his patients' physical conditions, but also about their past lives, their soul purposes, and the spiritual challenges their illnesses represented. But it was during a particularly intense experience in the winter of 1943 that Edgar understood the true magnitude of his discovery. On this occasion, while applying the technique in an especially deep dream, he found himself face to face not with deceased relatives or spiritual guides, but with an entity of pure light who identified itself as the guardian of the Akashic records, the cosmic archives where the entire history of the universe was preserved. This entity, communicating through telepathic transmissions that filled his consciousness with indescribable images and knowledge, revealed to Edgar that his earthly mission was only just beginning. According to this luminous entity, dreams represented the key to humanity's spiritual evolution. During sleep, when the conscious mind quieted and the ego temporarily dissolved, the human soul reconnected with the higher planes of existence. This connection, which had been gradually obscured by the growing materialism of modern civilization, could be restored through techniques like the one Edgar had developed, allowing each human being to directly access cosmic wisdom and dramatically accelerate their spiritual growth. The entity also revealed that Edgar wasn't the only one receiving this knowledge. Around the world, other specially prepared souls were being awakened to similar techniques, creating an invisible network of connected consciousnesses working together to raise the planet's spiritual vibration. Each person who learned to consciously navigate the realms of dreams would become a point of light in this network, capable of transmitting knowledge and healing not only to those around them, but to humanity as a whole. In the months following this revelation, Edgar discreetly began teaching modified aspects of his technique to some of his most dedicated students, always with the caveat that this knowledge should be used exclusively for high spiritual purposes. He observed with fascination how each person who learned the fundamentals of the technique began to experience profound transformations in their spiritual lives, developing intuitive abilities, receiving direct guidance from higher planes, and establishing connections with deceased loved ones that brought peace and healing to grieving hearts. It is at this point in the narrative that those seeking to understand the deeper mysteries of existence should pause to reflect on the meaning of these revelations. If you are genuinely interested in exploring the hidden dimensions of human consciousness and uncovering more secrets like this that have remained buried for decades, consider following this channel, where we will continue to unveil the mysteries that humanity's brightest minds have left as a secret legacy for future generations. But the story of Edgar Cayce and his revolutionary technique was far from over. In the fall of 1944, as his health showed clear signs of decline, Edgar experienced what he himself described as the most transcendental experience of his entire life. In a dream that lasted seemingly hours, but in earthly reality occupied only a few minutes of REM sleep, he found himself in a realm of existence that transcended anything he had previously experienced. In this realm, which Milton described as the heart of creation, Edgar witnessed the process by which souls plan their earthly incarnations before birth. He saw how each soul, in consultation with a council of highly evolved beings, chooses the experiences, challenges, and relationships that will be necessary for its spiritual growth during a specific lifetime. He understood that there is no accident or coincidence in the universe, but only an infinitely complex network of perfect synchronizations, where every encounter, every difficulty, and every moment of joy serves a greater purpose in the development of consciousness. Deep into his experience, Edgar witnessed the precise moment of physical death, observing how consciousness gradually separates from the material body and is welcomed into the spiritual plane by beings of light who awaited it. He saw that death is not an end, but a glorious liberation, a return to the cosmic home, where the soul finally understands the full meaning of its earthly journey and prepares for the next phase of its infinite evolution. During this transcendental experience, Edgar also received unsettling visions about humanity's future. He saw that Earth would undergo a period of great physical and spiritual transformations over the following decades, but that these changes, however challenging, would represent a unique opportunity for humanity to make a quantum leap in its conscious evolution. He saw that those who learned to navigate the realms of dreams and establish direct connections with the higher planes of existence would be instrumental in guiding humanity through this period of transition. The technique Edgar had developed, it was revealed to him, was only one of many instruments that would be available to facilitate this transition. In the coming decades, new modalities of energy healing, advanced meditative practices, and technologies that would allow direct communication with other dimensions would emerge. But dreams would always remain the most natural and accessible way for any human being to consciously contact higher planes of existence. It was in this experience that Edgar finally understood why he had spent his whole life serving as a channel for knowledge from other dimensions. His mission was not merely to heal physical bodies or predict future events, but to demonstrate to humanity that there is much more to existence than what can be perceived by the five physical senses. Every healing he facilitated, every piece of advice he conveyed, and every person he touched with his gift served as seeds planted in humanity's collective consciousness, preparing the ground for the great spiritual awakening that was to come. Upon awakening from this transcendental experience, Edgar knew that his days on Earth were coming to an end. He felt in his heart that he had fulfilled his main mission and that it was time to pass the torch to new generations of spiritual seekers. It was then that he decided to record that intimate confession, preserving for posterity not only the revolutionary technique he had developed, but also the profound understandings about the nature of the soul and the cosmos that he had acquired through a lifetime dedicated to the service of divine mysteries. In the final days of December 1944, as snow softly covered the gardens of his home in Virginia Beach, Edgar spent his last earthly hours in a state of absolute serenity. Those around him witnessed that, even in moments of greatest physical weakness, his eyes shone with an inner light that seemed not to belong entirely to this world. He murmured incomprehensible words during his sleep, as if he were constantly conversing with invisible entities who were already waiting for him on the other side of the veil. In his final recording, made just 3 days before his transition, Edgar shared a last revelation he had received during a particularly vivid dream. Milton had appeared to him once more, but this time accompanied by a multitude of luminous beings, whom Edgar recognized as all the people he had helped during his earthly life, and who had already transitioned to the higher planes. This army of light had come to thank him for his tireless dedication and inform him that his true work was only just beginning. According to Milton, from the spiritual plane, Edgar would continue to guide sincere seekers through dreams, appearing to those who applied his technique with a pure heart and high intentions. His expanded consciousness, freed from the limitations of the physical body, could now simultaneously reach thousands of people around the world, planting seeds of spiritual awakening and accelerating humanity's conscious evolution in ways that had never been possible during his earthly incarnation. The technique Edgar left as a legacy transcends any conventional method of dream interpretation. It represents a direct bridge between worlds, a master key capable of opening the doors of perception to dimensions of existence, where time and space dissolve into pure love and wisdom. Those who have the courage to apply it discover that dreams are not merely random reflections of the subconscious, but direct communications from a much vaster and more significant reality than anything materialistic science has managed to comprehend. Through this technique, ordinary people transform into living bridges between worlds, able to bring healing, guidance, and hope to afflicted hearts seeking answers beyond the veil of death. Deceased loved ones return to offer comfort and wisdom, spiritual guides emerge from the shadows to guide important decisions, and the dreamer's own soul is revealed in all its eternal magnificence, free from the illusions and limitations that obscure its true nature during waking hours. Edgar Case's recording, discovered decades after his death in carefully preserved family archives, represents more than just a historical document. It is a spiritual treasure map, a detailed guide to exploring territories of consciousness that most human beings do not even suspect exist. Every word recorded in his already frail but still conviction-filled voice serves as a beacon for those who feel called to transcend the limitations of the physical world and establish direct contact with the higher dimensions of existence. But perhaps the deepest revelation contained in this recording is the understanding that every human being possesses, dormant in their consciousness, the same potential that Edgar developed during his extraordinary life. The ability to communicate with other planes, to access cosmic knowledge, and to serve as a channel for healing energies, is not the privilege of a chosen few, but the birthright of every soul inhabiting a human body. Dreams are simply the most natural and accessible way to awaken this divine potential that remains latent in most people. When the recording finally ends with Edgar's last audible breath, followed by a silence that seems to echo across the decades, we are left with a transformed understanding of the nature of human existence. Death is revealed not as a terrifying end, but as a glorious graduation to a higher level of consciousness. Dreams emerge as sacred windows, through which we can glimpse our true spiritual identity, and earthly life takes on a whole new meaning as a precious school, where every experience, however difficult, serves the greater purpose of polishing the soul until it shines with its original light. Edgar's technique remains today as one of the most powerful legacies left by any modern mystic. It is not merely a method for interpreting dreams, but a master key capable of unlocking the doors of perception to realities that completely transcend our ordinary understanding. For those who have the courage to apply it, dreams transform from confusing and fragmented experiences into sacred encounters with eternity, where each night's sleep becomes an opportunity for direct communion with the divine that dwells both within and beyond our mortal consciousness. And so, in the final words recorded by that extraordinary man who dedicated his life to serving as a bridge between worlds, we find not only solace for our deepest sorrows, but also renewed hope that our individual journey is part of a much larger cosmic symphony, where each soul plays a unique and indispensable role in the eternal evolution of consciousness toward unity with the Creator of all things.